Hey everyone, welcome to Crossroad Conversations with the Lewis Brothers, where we aim to share real stories about running a successful family business, working through adversity, and pouring back into the community that keeps our door open. We're your hosts, Matt, Shelby, and Taylor, and we bring you relevant local business advice and automotive insights that are sure to change the way you look at running a business, and maybe even throw in a plug for you to do business with us.
Almost 2 full decades, from all the different sports, but
yeah.
Let's go backwards. What got you started there?
Awesome. So it is going back a minute. So when I finished playing college soccer, I was trying to figure out what the hell I want to do. I don't know if I can cuss on here, but what did I want to do? And I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to stay fit. So I was like, triathlon's becoming a thing. This was early 2000s. And so I started doing triathlon and realized I can't swim at all. And I'm like a drowning rat. So I essentially go look for any coach that can help me. And I go talk to a bunch of club coaches and I get the same general response. Dude, you're too old. You should have started when you were a kid. You'll never get the mechanics. You'll never be able to swim at the quality you want. And I was like, whatever. That's a driving force to me, probably to a lot of people, is tell them you can't. And so I started diving into the nuance of swim development and became successful, and then that led people to ask me to coach them, and that led into triathlon coaching, and then I was randomly drove out to Colorado for my first coaching clinic at USA Triathlon, and been going ever since.
That's pretty funny because Shaun taught us triathlon and how to, that was the first kind of, we ran into Shaun, and we were not natural descendants of Michael Phelps.
Oh no, this is how we were going through the water.
Yeah, Matt was, his form was, he was trying to overstructure it and look like a beached whale. Not good, right? It's funny, so Shaun, we didn't know that Shaun had no clue, but then really, he said, hey, you need to buy this stuff, right? And so he had these bags. I still have
gear,
them, of all
these days I'm getting back to
swim
it.
buoy and the paddles. Those things I want to light on fire, the paddles.
Me too, actually.
I think I skipped them about every time they came up in my workout, but just of learning that. So I love that. That's an example. Just because maybe they said you're too old or because you don't have any history doesn't mean give up.
Yeah.
I think, and you're going to hear this theme as we get farther in depth talking to Shaun today, but one of the things that I see on repeat for as long as we've known you, and even starting with that, is anytime you had an area that you needed to learn on, you went out and you seeked a professional.
I did.
You found somebody that knew more than you, that had the credentials to back it up, to learn from before you were going to pour into others.
Always try to. Going back to my undergrad education, biochem was my favorite area because it was like finally at this culmination of these degrees and these classes, I felt like it actually answered questions.
Okay.
And it becomes very mechanistic, and that's essentially how I think. So before I ever gave anybody any surface level advice, I always felt like I needed to fully understand what was happening to the best of my ability, which is what have always drove me back to school or further into literature or seeking mentor coaches or whatever.
I think that's really important in today's society, and there's some great things about the access to information that we have. Whether it's podcast or it's social platforms or if it's literature out there to read, but you got to slow down just a second and just validate and check before you just go put a workout in or do this or that somebody's advising, because they may not have gone through this same path that you did to make sure that it's relevant, real information that you're providing people.
Yeah, it can be, it gets more and more confusing, I think, all the time with the influx of touch points where we get information. Social media, things, podcasts, whatever.
Yeah.
It's rampant with good information and bad information. So being able to distinguish between the two is it's not always easy.
So you seek out somebody to teach you how to swim.
Yep.
Okay, to teach you how to swim because you're like, maybe I should do a triathlon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you pick to do a triathlon? You come from soccer.
Yep.
Very successful in soccer.
Yep.
Then it's like triathlon, but why?
Running was boring at the time, just running. I wanted something exciting. And I liked riding bikes.
Okay.
It's funny because I run a lot now, right?
Yeah, I know.
Evolved back to running. I don't know, it was just new and upcoming. It was exciting. So it seemed like a good challenge and proved to be a good challenge. I did a couple before I started working with anybody to coach me. And I would come out of the water like in last place, and then it was a race to even catch anybody. So, and then by the time I got to the run, I couldn't run for squat. So I figured out I'm doing something wrong.
Isn't that the path a lot of us have, though, just in life in general, is we're like, no, we can figure this out, maybe especially men. Like, hey,
Probably.
we can figure this out until we just get whipped.
Yes.
And then they're like, maybe I should seek somebody out that knows more than I do.
Or it's like the idea of instructions, right? Men throw the instructions away
I got this.
until they put the whole thing together, and then it's backwards and the holes aren't lining up, and they're just like, ugh. So, I mean, you might run and race a couple times or work out a good amount of times, and you're like, someone has got this figured out better than I do, and it's worthwhile.
Because how far did that catapult you once you reached out for your first certification and actually learned the technique and the science behind it?
I mean, I've been coaching ever since. So, and it's grown every year. So, going to the first certification, I actually met my first business partner on that trip, and we formulated our mission, vision, values of that company and started that company as soon as we got back. So it's been nothing but accelerated since. And then the evolution of learning to swim and learning to coach swim was ongoing for a lot of years, and going through various mentor coaches, from Olympic Training Center resident swim coaches that I worked with to online people and people I found in various other platforms.
So you do the triathlons and you started kind of get this bug of coaching. All right. So then when does the kids program come in next?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the beginning of triathlon coaching was essentially coaching a lot of newbies like myself, going from couch to Ironman almost. So we were very successful, my business partner and I. And then I would get a handful of athletes that were like post-collegiate like myself, very competitive. And I found that that's what I really liked.
Okay.
Was not necessarily the couch to true beginner, but somebody that they could still be beginner, but they had this competitive desire to do work and drive and evolve. That led me into, I got some kids, some like high school age kids, and they were very successful. And then I found like that was really fun, really interesting. So we launched a new team, and that became my passion. And I actually sold that side of that business and started the other one with just kids, which was a whole new experience.
It was a whole new experience and a lot of success there as well. The amount of kids that you found in would you call it the mid distance?
Yeah. So Triple Threat, which is what Arkansas Track Club is part of, started as triathlon, and we were competitive nationally. We're one of the first 20 youth and junior elite teams in the country. The problem I ran in there, and just to move forward, the evolution of Arkansas Track Club, is I would get all these kids and they would be very successful. We'd make national championship and we'd qualify, we'd do really well. But there was nowhere to go in college. There was no college out, like what's next once they graduate. And so most of them would go swim or run in college, and some just go to college, and that was frustrating. So that's what led to track and field and Arkansas Track Club, because then there was an outlet. Where do we go next? Running, right? So it was a simple evolution that made sense, as well as the barrier to entry was smaller for running versus triathlon. So it was easier to get more kids and grow the team.
I think too, the access that you gave, especially high school kids, and do give high school kids to take that next level, and to give them the foundation, and the skill set they need to then go at whatever level at a college or junior college or whatever it may be, to continue success with not only education but athletics. Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part about the youth program, or Arkansas Track Club, like we call it the junior team, is the relationships you form with these kids. And like I have kids now that are surgeons, which is wild. A lot of doctors, they're in grad school, they're coming back from school and graduate, like I have a guy who runs for our elite team right now that went to Western and ran, and now he's back with me again. And so it's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Those evolving relationships.
I think when we've talked to different people in the fitness world, especially running or people we've interviewed, there's a correlation to people that want to be a better version of themselves, or they're athletic and competitive, to then what their occupation is. Whether it's business leaders or doctors, and I don't know if you see the same.
Probably. I mean, from the youth side, I'd probably tie it to academics. With runners, you see a very disciplined group. Okay. That if they're successful runners, tend to be very type A and disciplined. Like they care about the nuance and they get it done. And you see that translate over into academics as well. So they tend to have a higher GPA, very successful, and they are successful in college and down the chain as well. And I think you see the same thing in adults. From the adults I coach, is very driven, dedicated, get the work done. They're also very successful in their professional careers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, from the kids then we start integrating back in some adults,
Yep.
whether it's post-collegiate or other people farther on in their life. And, you know, a little bit of triathlon, but then more into running. And then that's when, you know, Shelby and I got you kind of on our journey of triathlons, and then we got more into running. So how'd you layer that part in?
The transition of like adults and
Yeah, getting the adults and then the ultra world too. We'll start talking about that.
yeah, you know, great question. I think it's kind of followed my own interest.
Yeah.
As far as like, I got tired of triathlon, triathlon specifically. And then with bringing in adults, it just seemed natural. And from a business standpoint, you know, having diversity, right? Having a youth program that's kind of set on itself, and then an adults and then an elite team, it brings stability to the company from a business standpoint. And then from a coaching standpoint, adults and kids share physiology, but kids aren't many adults. They're different. So that keeps me interested.
Okay.
And then the adult side is, you know, you have different problems you're trying to solve. From they deal with family, they deal with business lives and schedules and all those things. So I think personally, the different challenges are interesting, trying to solve problems.
Question for you on coaching, because I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but how do you quiet down some of the noise of all the influence that people may be exposed to? You know, if they saw a video on TikTok or they saw a YouTube deal and they're just saying, hey, coach, what about this? What about that? How do you quiet that down and have them stay the course?
Like when an athlete brings it to me?
Yeah.
It depends on what it is.
Okay.
But generally, I like to address things like that with evidence or intrigue. Like if somebody brings me something, if you brought me something from you saw on TikTok and you're like, this is going to be the next greatest thing, I have to do this. I wouldn't dismiss it because I'm genuinely curious.
Sure.
So I would think about it. We'd talk about it. I'd look into evidence. You know, I live in a PhD world where everything is, I'm looking at research and evidence and drilling down on like the why all the time. So I think with just a candid conversation, why are you interested in it? What do you think it's going to do? How do we think it's going to work? What do we know from research that's been done? And are athletes doing this? Just because it's not shown in evidence perfectly right now doesn't mean it's not true.
Sure.
So to me, it's also a great way to lead into research. A lot of research follows what's happening in the real world versus the other way around, because coaches are out there on the front ends doing things with high-level athletes and they're successful and they're doing these things. It's really interesting. So I try to lead with, like, from a development standpoint, we need to do what we know works, and fundamentals are where it's at from a development standpoint. But we can trickle in these ideas and play with them.
Okay.
And as long as we monitor and manage, we can avoid maladaptation or other issues and play with it.
How do you keep people focused when you're working on the fundamentals and they want to do something different? Because, you know, building that block by block sometime isn't the most exciting thing.
Yeah, it's not. And that's something I talk about often. You know, like the elite athletes I coach, an elite program oftentimes is very fundamental and basic and not sexy at all. Like it's a repetition of the same thing. Whereas if you get a new person, they may think, I need all these new, different, sexy, you know, I need to band myself to these bars 17 different ways and try and balance on something. and cool, but like, it depends. If you want good adaptation from a physiology standpoint, we know what works. Doesn't mean we can't band you 17 ways, but like maybe we need to nail down the foundation first.
Sure.
And then layer on these things you want to try. But it's really hard because there's an entertainment value is what I would call it. And then like what we know works. And the goal is to try and weave them together, right? Because if you do the exact same thing every day, day in, day out, you're going to improve as long as that's progressing.
Sure.
However, it's not going to be the most fun.
Yeah.
So there's ways to accommodate both.
That makes a whole lot of sense of just being able to build those block by block, you know, every single day, then to get the success out of there. And then, you know, then just being able to tie in the leadership role too. I'm sure you've seen, because I've seen you designate different people on the team as a leadership role on trying to lead the different parts of the team. So how do you incorporate that in, and what do you see from success from that?
Hey, thanks for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to give it a like, share it with your friends and family, Visit our website and send us some questions. We want to know what you'd like to hear, who you'd like to hear from, and what you want to see, or maybe even some questions for us to answer about either the automotive industry or just business in general.